of ourselves to every person, project, and association with enthusiasm, love, and friendliness, that we see the larger possibility of all things, beauty in the ugliness, love instead of hate, and the divine hidden within the human. Beautiful. So creating that new in our life, we first have to give what it is we desire, don't we? Now, Reverend Jill, that makes no sense. If I'm trying to bring something in that I don't have, how can I give it first, right? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, does it? But how can we be aware of something that we want more of, something we want to experience, if we don't already have it? Right? If I'm in a culture where it's a barter system, there is no money exchange. It's just a barter system where I babysit this lady's children and she makes our clothes, right? There's no money exchanged. She's got no concept of money. I've got no concept of money. I don't care about money. It's not something I would ever want to create in my life, is it? Because there's no concept there. But we aren't like that. We have that concept of money. Many of us want more of it flowing through our lives. But we must first give what we seek. We must come from that place of prosperity consciousness first. We may say we want a relationship. Most of us on that relationship list have a list of things we don't want that was in our ex, don't we? I don't want this, I don't want that, they can't have this, they can't look like that, and they certainly can't do that thing. So we've got this whole list of don'ts, can't haves. And there's another list, isn't there? Well, I need somebody that's going to give me love because I don't have enough of it. I don't really love me, so I need somebody that's going to love me. Or I don't have enough money. I need somebody that's going to bring money into my life. Or I'm not really a kind person, so I need somebody kind in my life to balance me out, you know? So those are kind of the two lists that we'll put together sometimes, isn't it? When we're trying to call in something external to ourselves. Those are the things that we put together. But again, if we don't have wealth of our own, how will we recognize it in another? How will we recognize it beyond the surface stuff in another? If we don't love ourselves, how can we recognize love in another and not mistake codependency for that? If I'm not kind, how can I recognize kindness? I can't know it, can I? I can't know anything outside of myself. So this law of giving is pretty important, isn't it? From that perspective. Ernest Holmes, if we believe in something, we will experience it. I just randomly came across that quote of his. And I really liked it. If we believe in something, we will experience it. Now, he was talking about lack and evil. If you believe in lack and evil, you will experience lack and evil, right? But it works the other way, too. If I don't believe I'm lovable, what am I going to experience? Not being lovable, right? Yeah. If I believe I am lovable and I share that love, what happens? I begin to call that into my life, don't I? I begin to call that into my life. And this is how it really works. This is how it really works in Science of Mind. We say we must first become that which we seek. And that may not make sense. It may sound very mystical. But we only know that we want something more because we already have some of it. We just need to expand on it and share it, right? Expand on it and share it. So giving first is the recognition that we live in a universe that operates through dynamic exchange, and that giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe. That is from Deepak Chopra, from his book. Now, Deepak's all about the science stuff too, right? So it's all about energy, and it's all about flow, and it's all about circulation and currency and all of that. But if you think about it, we live in a closed system, don't we? Energy doesn't just disappear. We know that from science. It doesn't disappear. It changes form, but it doesn't disappear. So we are in a closed system. It's circulating all the time. It's circulating all the time. So if it's true, both sides of the equation then become very equally important, giving and receiving, right? They both become equally important. Giving, though, is the first step that many have backwards. Giving is the first step. Have you ever seen a spider web? Maybe a pretty one like this with a little dewdrop on it, glistening in the sunlight? Well, we all learned in elementary school how that works, right? The spider weaves the web and then parks in the middle of it waiting for something to be captured in the web, and the web moves and the spider waits until the web stops moving, and then it goes and sees who's for dinner, right? We all learned that in elementary school. Well, there's a story from Hinduism, also Jainism and Buddhism as well, called Indra's net. Indra was one of the gods, one of the deities who was the ruler of heavens, and he created a net over the entire universe. And that net, at every one of the knots on the net, there was a jewel. And every jewel reflected every other jewel. So if any of those jewels moved, the reflections changed of all of the jewels, right? And it's a wonderful story and example of the idea of consciousness, of the idea of oneness, interconnectivity that we all are. If one of those is moved, the whole thing changes, doesn't it? The entire reflection changes. And I first heard this story in ministerial school years ago, and it really made an impact on me for that idea of consciousness and oneness, and how we are all totally interconnected in that net or web. So when we're giving to ourselves, aren't we? In reality, if it is all one, when we give, we're giving to ourselves. Because what we give is reflected right back to us, isn't it? Reflected right back to us. Deepak talks in the book about intention in our giving. That if our attitude towards giving is one of giving to get. Well, I'll give you this, but what are you going to give me? Right? If I give you this, what will you give me? That's the giving to get attitude. And he says that's all wrong. The intention is to give without exchange. To give without exchange, other than the intention of joy in giving and the happiness of the receiver. I'm reminded of Christmas and birthdays when I find the perfect gift. You ever felt that way? You find just the perfect gift, and you get home and you start to wrap it, and you get so excited because you're imagining when they open it how excited they're going to be, how important this is going to be to them, how much joy it's going to bring them, and you just get so excited. Am I the only one that does that? It's like little kids. Little kids will buy a gift for grandma, and they go over and they're so excited they can't wait. They've got to help her open it, right? They've got to help her open it. She's opening it too slow. Get in there. It's that sort of joy in giving that we're talking about here. The joy in giving. Ron and I were in the home goods store a while back, and you've been in there? Not the home goods, the other thing up here by that used to be the Sam's Club. Yeah. What's it called? At Home? At Home, that place. It's huge inside. And they've got everything you can imagine and 97 deep and everything. It's really amazing. But we made our way back to the corner where all of the kitchen stuff was. And then the back wall is all the towels and pot holders and that sort of thing. And I saw this towel and I just had to buy it because I knew it was perfect for one of my friends. I've known them for about 27 years since I moved here. And they've always had this little saying that didn't make any sense to me. I thought it must be a Midwest thing. But it's, when I dip, you dip, we dip. You ever heard that? It's like a dance thing. Yeah, whatever. But the towel said, when I sip, you sip, we sip. And it was all about wine. And I thought that is just so stinking cute because not only do they say that, they like wine. So I had to buy that towel. It was like $4, but it was so much fun. I wanted to go to her house right then and give it to her. Let's stop by because it was so cute. That's the kind of thing. There was nothing expected in that exchange except joy. Except joy. Isn't that fun? You're all smiling. I know you think that's fun too. So imagine if all of our giving was that way. And it doesn't have to be monetary. Giving is not all monetary, is it? It's not about a physical gift. It can be a compliment. I'm not talking the cheesy compliments where you always tell someone their dress is pretty, or their slacks, or their shirt, or their tie, or whatever. I'm not talking those kinds of surface things. What if you were constantly surveying everyone you meet for something that you could genuinely appreciate and compliment them on? Something special and unique to them. Wow. That would be a little different, wouldn't it? If you had a conscious decision to smile at everybody that you see. I grew up in a small town. I call it lovingly Mayberry. It was called Pembroke. But we all knew each other, right? Everybody knew each other. If you passed somebody on the street, you said hello, good morning, you smiled, you might tip your hat if you were wearing one. My sister-in-law was raised in the same type of town, and she moved to Richmond, Virginia when she was a young woman. And she came home and visited and was just shocked how not everybody on the streets of Richmond said hello to her when she stopped and said hello to them. She just couldn't understand that. And I always envisioned those movie scenes in New York City where it's just wall-to-wall people on the sidewalk going 100 miles an hour and her trying to go, hello, 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 hello. But giving a smile, I mean, how many people do we pass on the street, in the grocery store, in the store, in the aisle? They just have that look on their face. It's like, wow, smile. Smile at them. Say hello. Say hello. And of course, there's always the pay it forward, buying the meal or the coffee for the person behind you in line in the drive-thru. That is so much fun to get up and somebody says, oh, you're already taken care of. They paid for you. Wow, really? How cool is that? So we must be willing to give what we seek, to give it away. As counterintuitive as that sounds, that's the spiritual principle. That is the spiritual principle, giving the unexpected. Ernest Holmes, we should give of ourselves in love and in service to others in a spirit of generosity and good fellowship. To refuse to give is to refuse to receive, for everything moves in circles. Real giving is the givingness of the self. It can be as simple as a kind word, a thoughtful act, or even just a smile. So he mentions circle. He mentions circle and the idea of receiving. The idea of receiving. I've often heard folks say, oh, I am just not a good receiver. I am not a good receiver. And I always think to myself, are you a good giver? Are you a good giver? Because most good givers are good receivers because they understand the law. They understand how it works. They understand that it's one thing, two opposite ends of it. To be a good giver is the same as being a good receiver. Receiving gratitude. When we block the flow of energy on either side of that equation, stagnation happens. You know what a tourniquet is? Yeah, you put a tourniquet on, what happens? It stops the blood flow for everything on the other side of it. And what happens to everything on the other side of it if we stop the blood flow too long? The tissue dies, right? Yeah. If our heart were to stop pumping, the blood would pool, become stagnant, no longer circulating. We would not be living, right? If we just breathed in or breathed out. That's one way. That's not both sides. We've got to do both. We've got the circulation piece of it. Being a good giver and a good receiver. So our law today, the law of giving, step 1 is to give. Step 2 is to receive. Step 3 is to circulate. Step 3 is to circulate. We can't stagnate the flow by hoarding. We must circulate our gifts. So let's look at some practicing the principles today and see how we might take this home with us. Again, number one is to give. I will give them a gift. What if you woke up every morning? What gift am I giving today? What gift can I give the world? And think about that as you let someone in line in traffic rather than ooch up and cut them off, right? As you pick up coffee for the office, what gift am I giving today? As you take time to be with someone who needs a shoulder, what gift am I giving today? Be a gift in the world. And if we go at it with that attitude, that intention to give, and then move that into the idea of giving what I'm seeking. What am I seeking to create in my life? I'm seeking to create more financial flow. Good. How can I give? How can I give financial? How can I step into that flow of circulation by giving and priming my own pump? How can I do that? I am seeking love. How can I give love and be more loving in the world today? How can I be a demonstration of love? Well, I want a more rewarding career. How can I give more where I am? How can I give more where I am? These are ways that we give. Number two, receive. I will gratefully receive all of the gifts that life has to offer me. I will gratefully receive all of the gifts that life has to offer me. Be that a smile from another. Be that a compliment from another. Oh, this old thing. That's not a good receiver, is it? If someone compliments you, what do you say? Thank you, right? But we push it away so many times. We push it away. And nature, gifts of nature. We have abundant sunlight. We could be living in the Pacific Northwest where it's rainy all the time. We have beautiful foliage outside. We've got wonderful air-conditioned air in here this morning, keeping us nice and cool. We've had beautiful music from Dawn, beautiful prayers from Lori. All of the gifts that we receive. And number three, circulate. I will make a commitment to keep wealth circulating in my life by giving and receiving it all. A lot of times we get ourselves into little cubby holes or pigeonholes. Well, I'm just going to give money. I'm not going to give time. I'm not going to give talent. I'm not going to give anything else. I can't do that. But I'll give this. I'll give this one thing. And we're out of balance, aren't we? We're out of balance. You know, some people write big checks to donations and charities and things like that, but their hearts are closed. Their hearts are closed. They're not giving love. They're not being compassionate. They're not being kind. They're not being fair with their staff or their employees or in their families or with their children or whatever. So it's a balance, isn't it? In the giving of all, the receiving of all and the giving of all. That's the flow of life. Because we know we're pure potentiality, right? We learned that last week. And that means everything. So don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. Give it all. Receive it all. Be grateful in it. So the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe. That's what Deepak tells us. But it's our willingness to give. Our willingness to give that which we seek, to be part of this flow that keeps the universe, the abundance of the universe flowing through us. So I'll close this out this morning with a quote from Deepak in the book where he says, "Our true nature is one of affluence and abundance." Say that with me. Our true nature is one of affluence and abundance. How's that feel? You are. You are affluent. You're brilliant beings of light, intelligence, wisdom, creativity, pure potentiality. Holy smokes. Affluent, abundant. Naturally affluent because nature supports every need and desire. We lack nothing because our essential nature is that one of pure potentiality and infinite possibilities. But how do we do that? Oh my gosh. Unlimited. You must know that you are already inherently affluent, no matter how much or how little money you have, because the source of all wealth is a field of pure potentiality. So it is. So it is. Would you join me in an affirmative prayer this morning? So just breathing into this moment, recognize that there's God and nothing else. Nothing. But that power, that presence, that field of pure potentiality and all possibilities, the divine, infinite wisdom, perfection, love, harmony, flow, all of it. And all of it is here now, present in, through, and as every molecule in this room, every person, myself, everything. For we are all sourced of that divine energy and that divine presence. And so knowing this, I speak my word for and about each of us this morning, knowing that as we step into this flow of life, this law of giving, this law of circulation, that we do so with great faith and confidence, recognizing that we cannot outgive our source. We cannot outgive God, period. That it is all here for our pleasure. It is here for our access. And that we are affluent and abundant and pure potentiality and infinite possibilities. Today we step confidently into that. We say yes to our most opulent desire, allowing the universe to come forward and work through us now. If there's anything that we have on our heart today, anything that needs healing, clarity, uplifting, peace, wholeness, love, we bless that in this moment, knowing the gift of God is in that. And so it is with great gratitude that I release this into the action of law, the activity of mind, knowing that it is already done. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.